this is Pinchas. I'm driving to work this morning, and as usual, kind of stop and go traffic. Today it's a little bit better, actually, so I'm moving right along. But on my morning drives, I love to meditate in the scripture. I love to think, and a lot of times I like to think out loud. And so I have you here in the car with me so that I can think out loud and meditate. And so this week I've been focusing on Psalm 3. And particularly right now, what I'm going over in my head is verses 3 and 4. Now, Psalm 3 is a psalm written in distress. David is running away from Absalom, his son. And just to think about it, his son's name is Avshalom, Father's peace. Well, he certainly does not get peace from him, anything but peace. So he is in this time of distress. He's running away. He's running for his life. And out of that difficult, tumultuous situation, this beautiful psalm is born. And so David begins by saying that he's in trouble. And so in the beginning verses of the psalm, he says, "How many are my foes? Many are saying about me that this is it. This is the end for him. He's not going to survive this one." So after David reports these words of some others that are saying about him very pessimistic things, he actually responds with very positive message. He says, "No, you, Lord, are a shield for me. I'm going to live through this. You are my defense." And he calls out to God. So I've come to a stop here. Let me read just briefly for you the verses that I'm focusing on. Let's see, verse 3 and 4 of Psalm 3. Hebrew says, "Ve'ata Adonai Magen ba'adi, kvodi umerim roshi. But you, O Lord, are a shield about me, my glory and the lifter of my head." Then David continues, "Koli el Adonai ekra, ve'yanani mechal kodsho, Selah. I cried aloud to the Lord, and he answered to me from his holy hill, Selah." So it's interesting that David calls God his shield. This Hebrew word magen is an interesting one. Ata Adonai magen ba'adi. So ba'adi means about me, around me, or for me. But word magen usually is translated as shield. And that's a really good translation, actually. So the word magen does mean a shield. It can mean armor. It can mean defense. It can mean protection. You can understand that word in a very literal sense, or in a little bit more idiomatic sense. A shield in a very real sense right now, because David is running away from his enemies. People are pursuing his life. So word magen can be used in a variety of different ways. For example, in Hebrew, ish magen is a person who has armor, literally the person of the shield. It means a warrior, somebody who is geared up, somebody who is in his full protection gear. And so magen can mean defense, but it can simply mean like an article of defense, like a shield in battle. And so that would be a very typical use of that word. Now, most people don't realize, so the word magen comes from verb ganan. Ganan means to defend, to protect. We have words like agana comes from it. So maybe you're familiar with Israeli army. So the abbreviation for Israeli army you will see all the time, the insignia, is Tzahal. Tzahal is not a real name for Israeli army. It's just an abbreviation. So it stands for three different words. Tzeva Agana LeIsrael. So we have Tzadi, Hey, Lamed. And so Tzeva means multitude. Agana means defense. Here's that word ganan. Magen comes from that. And then LeIsrael is of Israel. So Tzahal, Israeli army, really means the Israel Defense Force. I mean, that's how people translate that. They say IDF, so in Hebrew it's Tzahal. Now, what I want you to realize is here's that word ganan and magen, shield, defense. It's right there. I am thinking right now of a verse in particular that comes to mind, when Abraham spoke to God in Genesis. Now, a lot of times, there's a lot of conversations between Abraham and God in Genesis, but this one particular one is special. So it's right before God confirms the covenant with him. Abraham is expressing some doubts. He's having some hard time believing what God has told him. And he says to Abraham, Avraham al tira, do not fear, I am your shield. And then he says, which means your reward will be indeed very great. But I am just reminded of that verse because in that verse, God says to Abraham, I am your shield. Okay? Anochi magen lach. God says to Abraham, Anochi magen lach. I am a shield for you. Literally. As I think about it, this is the kinds of words that David is relying upon him. He says, you are my shield. Ata Adonai magen badi. Your shield all around me. You're my defense. You are my support. You're my backup. So all these people that are saying God's not going to help them, I'm not worried about that. I know where we stand. But then he adds something else. He says, Kvodi umirim roshi. Now, mirim roshi means the one who lifts my head, literally. Mirim is participle, so lifting my head. Okay, rosh means head, roshi, my head, so mirim roshi, the one who lifts my head. But that part about kvodi, that's an interesting part. A lot of people do not realize that the word kavod, which we translate as glory, is also translated as honor. In English language, when people say glory, it's like something praise-related or something like that. But really, as we think about it more, it has to do more with renown. It has to do more with honor. So the verse that comes to my mind right now that I can use an example perhaps is the Ten Commandments. So remember how the Ten Commandments begin? They talk about, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. You shall have no other gods. And also says about not taking God's name in vain and remembering the Sabbath. But then God says, honor your mother and your father. So we have the commandment, honor your father and your mother. Okay, the verb is kaved. Kaved is that same exact word, that kavod, glory. So honor your father and your mother, glory your father and your mother. That glorying your father and your mother is a bit of a stretch for a lot of people. So the word honor is how most translations will translate it. But the Hebrew, the word is the same. It means to show someone respect. To honor somebody is to show someone respect. So this verb, kaved, really has to do with heaviness in Hebrew. It has to do with weight. It has to do with something substantial. There's some sort of substance that you're dealing with. So it is related to the word weight. Take my words with weight. Put some weight into what I'm saying. We have so many different idioms in English that perhaps kind of flow in that same direction. But when you talk about honoring someone, is you giving their words weight, you're giving their statue some weight, some serious consideration. So when David says, you are my honor and the lifter of my head, you're the one who lifts my head, what is he really saying? He's saying that I find my substance, I find my weight, I find my grounding, I find my steadfastness in you. You know, there is a lot of glory in children. Children are the ones who bring honor to their parents. God says that he finds honor and pleasure in the praises of his people. And I think parents find a lot of delight when their children make them proud. And this is what we're talking about, this type of honor, something that we receive back. And so how does that relate to David and what he says in the Psalm? Because it's easy to say, God, you're my shield, you're my protector, you're my defense. I'm not worried about all these enemies coming my way. But to say that Kavodi, you are my honor, you're my glory, is to basically say that I'm depending upon you to show your character and to reveal yourself for the kind of person that you are, and I'm not worried about it because you're not going to fail me in this situation. I know I'm in the very dire moment of my life, but I know the kind of God you are, essentially, and I know that you're not going to fail me. That's the amazing hope that David is able to express in the moment of distress and affliction. So I'm inspired by these words this morning as I'm driving, and I'm thinking about it, milling over it in my head in Hebrew and English, kind of going back and forth. And the thought that comes to mind to me this morning that I wanted to conclude with as I'm driving up to my work this morning already is how much of God is my glory, my honor. It's very easy to say God is my protection, God is my defense. We need that all the time. We can kind of claim those words and say, Lord, protect me. But to say that God is our honor, God is our glory, is to say that God has some serious substance in our life. He has a say in our life just as much as parents have a say in the lives of our children. How much are we honoring God, essentially, with our everyday life? How much weight do we give Him whenever decisions come in front of us? Are we treating people the way that He has taught us how to treat them? Are we making choices that are driven by the things and ethics that He has given us? That is really what it would mean to say that God is our honor, that we're driven by Him, that it's not really, we're not operating in our own respect, but we're operating under His umbrella. So when I think about David's words that he says, Lord, you are my shield, you're the lifter of my head, you're my glory, that's what it comes to my mind. And I am challenged this morning to make God much more of my glory today. Now, thanks for being with me for these few minutes. Hopefully you enjoyed my short little drive meditation. If you love this video, please click subscribe, click like, and share it with your friends.